The Jujutsu Kaisen film is just about to hit cinemas worldwide, and we were given the chance to see it a little bit early, thanks to Crunchyroll. So is this prequel film worth a trip to the cinemas? Stick around to find out.
Kawaii-Fi!
Konnichiwa, it's Kyle here, and we're finally able to talk about the Jujutsu Kaisen film. Jujutsu Kaisen 0 lands in most international cinemas this week, giving us a peek back at the events that happened a few years before the main story gets underway. Now, if you're not familiar with this very popular franchise, let me fill you in. Jujutsu Kaisen focuses on high schooler Itadori Yuji, who spends most of his time at his school's occult club or visiting his bedridden grandfather in hospital. However, this all goes out the window when he unknowingly encounters a cursed object. Triggering a chain of supernatural occurrences, Yuji finds himself suddenly thrust into the world of curses after swallowing the cursed object, revealed to be a finger belonging to the King of Curses. Yuji is introduced to the Tokyo Metropolitan Jujutsu Technical High School, and he begins to walk down a path which he can't easily return, the path of a Jujutsu sorcerer. The Jujutsu Kaisen film is a prequel to the series, however it does rely on knowledge from the series to understand the film. It introduces us to Okotsu Yuta, who we've only heard about in the background, and shares with us the story of the third years in the series back when they were first years. And truth be told, it really helps it line up for its second season as well. And as Crunchyroll gave us a copy of the screener, we decided to get the team together and see what we all thought of this big upcoming anime blockbuster. So in preparation for the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 film, we're going to watch the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 film.
2 hours later.
Well, that was Jujutsu Kaisen 0, and I think the first question we need to ask is, did we enjoy it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's actually really good.
And we're not just saying that.
We're not just saying that, but there are issues.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think we all were talking about this while we were watching it. The biggest issue is in the first 30 minutes. And that's quite simply that the pacing feels rushed and the animation quality isn't up to scratch. After that, it's a completely different story.
It feels really confusing watching those first 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this doesn't feel like Jujutsu Kaisen. The animation was not up to scratch. They felt like they kind of like didn't have the budget behind it. And even though the backgrounds
Was stunning.
were exquisite
Whole way through.
because of the backgrounds being exquisite, the actual animation was a bit odd. It felt off with it.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it connected to the scene at all, did it?
It felt like they were trying to speedrun it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after those 20
Yeah.
minutes, we found out why the first 20 minutes felt a little janky.
We definitely found out. And it's not because it's a dream sequence.
No, it's not dream.
No.
It was all a dream. This
No.
movie never happened. No, essentially, the story decides that it wants to set up the situation we're in and provide you a little bit of background about the character Yuta, who is one of the third years, who we have yet to meet in the series, but has been mentioned several times. Now, we will not tell you anything more than that, but the first 20 minutes sets up their introduction, and after that, that's when you start realizing why, because all the animation budget is in the next hour. And it's great.
It's so beautiful. It is exactly what you want from Jujutsu Kaisen.
I mean, look, it's so good I'm going to go see it again in cinemas. Because it needs the support.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
That was one of the first things you mentioned, actually, that it would be really great to see in the cinema on a massive screen.
Like the fight sequences are really fluid after that first 20, I think it was about 24 minutes. It's about the length of a normal anime episode, and it felt like they shoved 2 anime episodes worth of content into that time.
Yeah.
But once you got past that, it felt a lot more of a normal movie pacing, where you were getting a bit of information bit by bit, and gradually building the story up to the massive conclusion. And it was a massive conclusion. I'd say some of the final fights are on par with Boogie Woogie as far as...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like...
I'm also really glad that we saw it as a team rather than individually, because there were so many moments where you're like, oh my god, is that gonna happen? Oh my god, is this gonna happen? And then you just kind of like theorizing amongst ourselves and going, oh no, this and this and this, because
We'd
got
annoy
a lot
everyone.
of information from the manga,
Yeah.
which Kyle and I didn't have. So he was able to go, no, you're wrong. That's not right.
Quiet in the front row.
See, the thing is as well is that if we had saw this in the cinema, we would have annoyed everyone.
Hey, Mr. Movie Guy, can you pause it?
Let's have a group discussion about
We need
this.
some light to write some notes, just real quick.
Just a moment, yeah. Is this worth seeing at the cinemas, do you reckon?
Definitely, because you get the entire picture of it. But it's also worth seeing again, because I feel like we missed a lot because we watched it subbed.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to read and you're trying to watch and you're trying to keep up with everything that's going on. So it definitely warrants not just a first watch, but a second watch.
Maybe even a third and a fourth, because just it snowballs at its greatness. Like, it starts off, it's a little rough, it's a little small, and then it just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the last half hour, you cannot take your eyes off of it.
Now, I have a serious question here because I think a lot of people will have seen the Demon Slayer film as one of the most recent big action shonen films that they've seen.
Ooh.
How would you compare it?
Ooh.
Because
The second
half,
it wasn't half, it was more like a third. Like the first third, no. The first third doesn't even measure up to
the anime. Yeah.
The second,
Second, third.
the second part of it, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd say it measures up to Mugen Train.
Oh.
Well, I'd say that Mugen Train has like a steadiness to it, where it's like very evenly balanced the whole way through. Whereas this is sort of like a growth thing. So like, don't get me wrong, you compare the endings of the two.
They're
and-
equally
Yeah,
epic.
like they're both
Yeah.
great, but I'd say Jujutsu's definitely made it much more. You want that.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
Mugen, you're kind of watching it like you've got it steady the whole way through, so you're kind of like, yeah, okay, this is just
Like
what
a
I'm
train
expecting.
traveling from one destination to
Yeah.
another.
Just stopping in the stations, hitting the right marks. Whereas this is like a drunk toddler behind the wheel.
I found I had sympathy for characters that generally you wouldn't have sympathy for. And I came out of the gate like, I'm not a big Maki fan. Especially her sister, I don't know, the power of gun really doesn't do it for me. But like at the start I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really rate her. But by the end I was like,
I love Maki.
I would die for her.
girl.
See, you've all gotten on my train. She's an awesome character.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Now, if you are going to go see this in the cinemas, be aware there is a post-credit scene. So you do want to sit through
All
what's
10 minutes
rolling
of
on
this.
behind me. It is 10 minutes worth of credits, but the post-credit scene definitely feels like it's leading on to the next chapter, and that's definitely worth sticking around for.
So talk with your friends through these credits, enjoy them, debrief, and then get the little extra goodies.
Little extra goodies. So you can catch Jujutsu Kaisen worldwide in cinemas starting this week. If you are in the US, UK, and Canada and Australia, you'll be seeing it in your cinemas this week. Some parts of Europe are also getting it in the next 2 weeks. However, there is a worldwide release schedule in place, so definitely worth checking out. It's coming out in both subbed and dubbed versions. So whatever your preference, you'll still have a good ride. Out of 10, what would you rate the film? All over, all up, including the first 30 minutes, which was on top.
You're first.
I'd say like an 8.
An 8? An 8?
Yeah, I'd go an 8.5.
Yeah.
Oh, 8.5. I'm happy with saying an 8 as well. I think it was an incredibly solid film, especially if you're a Jujutsu Kaisen film fan.
It lost those 2 points at the beginning, but it made up for it.
Huge thank you to Crunchyroll for organising the screener for us. It was really, really generous of them to give us the opportunity to have a look at this and review it for you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Crunchyroll.
Thanks, Crunchyroll, for ruining the rest of anime for me. I can't. What do you expect me to do after this? I can't just go home and live my life.
You can watch Demon Slayer.
I'm not good at keeping secrets, Crunchyroll.
If you have liked what we've been doing, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, maybe hit that big red button. We'd really appreciate any of the support you can give us. We've got plenty more stuff in the works in the future. But until next time, watch some anime.